What's up, everybody? Jordan here with the What's Brewing podcast, and today I've got Jeff J. Hunter, the Savage Marketer, on here. And the whole purpose of this podcast here, as we are in the early stages of it in the first few episodes, is really to build a community and just tell stories of entrepreneurship in all spaces, because it can be a lonely road, and you need more positive influence and a positive group of folks around to help get you through it, because it's not for the faint of heart. And and I know I've worked with Jeff for a long time now. I don't know how long it's been now at this point.
Years.
And I've heard his stories, and he has got some great stories, from burning it all down to building it back up, to losing it all, to building it back up, to reinventing. And so I just thought there wasn't anybody better just to hop on here. So, dude, as big as you are in this space, I appreciate you giving everybody some time.
It's an honor, man. Yeah, it's been fun, and I love growing with. Just like the shirt says, I'm here to make money with my friends. You know, so
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, talk to me about. So your primary company is VA Staffer, and we use them. They're obviously fantastic, help us grow our business. So before VA Staffer, right, and everything that you're known for now, where where were you in life, business? What kind of pushed you towards like just jumping into entrepreneurship?
I have always been a computer geek, right? I mean, I'll even go back further than that. I'm a video gamer geek. So yeah, even right now, like I probably play an average of 1.5 to 2 hours a day, like right after the kids go to sleep. And the funny part is, I have a little group with my, business owner friends. Got a Telegram group with a couple other $1 million business owners that we just veg out for a couple hours before going to sleep. Because every day is a damn battle. And it's good to unwind. But it started when I was a kid. My parents worked a lot. My mom, she was a traveling nurse. My dad, he was an entrepreneur, and he owned a music store when I was a kid, and long hours. And I had a nanny, and basically I spent a lot of time on the Nintendo after school.
Yes.
Nintendo, Atari. I remember when I never even had a Super Nintendo. I think I went straight from Nintendo to PlayStation or something, and I think the PlayStation changed everything. Like, wow, Silent. I remember having to sneak Silent Hill CD because my parents didn't want me to play violent games and stuff. And but what was really crazy was when I went into junior high, that was when I started realizing I could create my own games. And I remember in junior high, we had the computer lab, and the computer lab, it had QBasic, which was Microsoft's QBasic programming language. And they had a couple pre-built games that you could play. One of them, I think, was called Gorillas or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was learning how to like modify, like what they were throwing. It was bananas, and I would just make them throw random things that I would create. And it changed everything. I think I was very blessed and fortunate to learn early that I could create stuff, and I could build my own stuff, and it could be different. And I was getting a lot of popularity, in the computer class, because I was a freshman. I remember in high school, I was a freshman, and I was in the senior computer, computer engineering, I think is what we used to call it back then,
Yeah.
And I would create hacks. I would actually create like bad software, like phishing stuff. Like I would create a fake login screen where people type their name and their email, they type their name and their password, their username and password. And then it would say invalid password, try again. And it would launch the real login application, and it would save their name and password to a file on the computer. Mind you, I'm like 13, 14 years old, right?
And that's early though. Like, I mean, because that's, even that age, computers were, I don't know. I feel like early 90s is when computers were really pumping around, and we may be close to the same age, or I may be older.
Yeah,
I'm the same. So I guess we're right. We're in the same age. So
interesting story. You want to know how I got caught? Because you were just talking about that. By the way, I got caught and I got in trouble.
Yeah.
You want to know how?
Yeah, I got to hear it.
Remember those giant 5-inch floppies?
Oh, yes.
So to steal their passwords, what I was doing was I would go to the computers and I would copy that file onto the floppy disk, and I would put the 5 1/4 inch disc inside. And if you remember, you'd have to put that little thing down. You'd have to pull the little tab to keep that disc in there. And then I would write the file from the computer onto the disc. And when it wrote, you would hear it go,
I remember that.
and one day the teacher came over and he goes, "What are you doing with this floppy disk?" And I was like, "Nothing." And of course, I was the worst liar in the world. And he grabs the disk and he puts it in his computer and he sees all these config.ini.sys files or whatever, because you always want to make it look like a system file so people think it's nothing.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he sees not only all the students' passwords in there, but also his login too.
That's what it's like. Oh.
So I've been in computers all my life. My very first job was literally working at a computer store in high school. My grandpa used to drop me off. It was like 3 blocks away from my high school, and he would drop me off, and I work at this computer store. My boss's name was Danny. He's a Chinese guy or Taiwanese, and I worked for free, and I just always was in computer. And I went to college for computers. I was the very first year that Cal State University had computer information systems concentration in the business school. I took that, so I was a CIS guy. And then, funny story, when I went to college, I've always had a full-time job. And when I went to college, by the time I had graduated college, which by the way took me 10 years, by the time I had graduated college, because I had a full-time job, I already had 2 careers that people went to college to get. I was an IT coordinator for an entire school district at 24 years old. And then before I graduated, I became an IT project manager for a Fortune 500 company. And I had to sign a form that I was graduating, because it was actually a requirement of the job was to have that degree that I didn't have. I was on my last semester.
That's nice.
So I've always loved IT. So when I went into building, remote teams in the early 2010, 2012, again, heavily inspired by gaming. A lot of the stuff I did online was online gaming back in the day. I already knew how to manage remote teams. I already knew how to build communities. And when I started working at Philips Electronics, one of the first things that we started doing was we were switching from an in-person on-site model to send an engineer out and have him set up a server and have your network engineer remote in and do everything remotely.
Yeah.
So I was kind of on the forefront. I was what they called an FOK, first of kind project manager. So I was the guy who was rolling out new technology, new things like that. And I've always loved being on the front line of technology, So I remember I was at Best Buy, wrapped around the corner for the first iPhone. I had that, So I've always been in technology. So right now, I feel like I'm living my vibe. Like I feel like I'm in an absolute zone, because I gave all that IT up to start my first business, which you're a client of, right? VA staffer, building remote teams to help my clients leverage, just get more stuff done. And, I know you're using Rosemary to do tons of stuff in your business, right?
Oh, yeah.
But what's really crazy though, is how I got into AI, right? When AI came out, nobody was figuring out like, okay, this is cool, but how do I use it in my business? How do I make money? How do I actually make money with it? How can I do something useful with it? Well, me being an IT guy, I immediately knew with my marketing experience and what AI could actually do, I knew that there was a massive goal and a gap that businesses just don't know how to make money with AI. So I created a suite of tools, marketing tools, that basically do your email marketing, your social media marketing. And then I created a course teaching people how to do it themselves. And I've been able to build a really solid brand, and one of the founders of what is called now the AI persona method, which is just a very simple way that businesses can leverage AI. So that's pretty much my story. I got into marketing, by the way, because when I started my business, I fell flat on my face and I went broke, and I had to learn the hard way, and I couldn't afford a nice agency like yours to help me do marketing.
Well, it's funny you said that. I was going to back you up for a moment. So, I think marketing is the one skill. Now, depending on where you're at in entrepreneurship, I think it's the one skill that every owner is just got to learn.
Yeah,
And I
even
don't
if
care
it's just marketing yourself, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean it's marketing and sales. If you don't take, like, you can be like, we work with contractors a lot, right? Like, those guys are good with their hands, man. They can build some of the best stuff. I couldn't do anything. You're struggling to get me to change the plunger or whatever in my toilet. I did replace my garage door opener the other day.
Hey.
I did do that. I'm gonna replace the other one. It actually was really easy thanks to YouTube and a FaceTime call with my dad.
University.
Yeah, but like. Marketing and sales, I think, is probably the number one skill that they just don't put any effort in, and they don't believe it's something they should. So, like, where did you tell me? Like, walk me through real quick how you learn marketing and sales. Other than, obviously, it's got to be trial and error.
Oh man,
where did you learn it?
You're gonna love the story. By the way, the person I'm about to talk about, he still emails me, and he, telling me how much he owes me still, but. It was 2014. I had just started VA staffer as a side hustle. I was working at Philips, and it was a hobby. It wasn't really like, like I wasn't trying to be a business owner. It was just like I learned how to use a virtual assistant to do stuff in my life. And when I started telling other people about it, they were like, "That's cool. Can you help me get a VA?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." And at first it was like I was helping them find VAs, and then it wasn't working out. And I was like, weird. And I kind of post-op said, "What's going on?" I went back to the VA and said, "Hey, what's up with this client? Like, I hooked you up with a great client. How come it didn't work?" And they're like, "Well, the client never told me what to do, never had time for me, didn't train me." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I can see what's happening now. I went back to the client and I said, "Yo, you asked me for a VA. I gave you a great VA, but they said you suck as a client, because these are my friends. It's not a business at that point." And he was laughing. He goes, "You know what, Jeff?" He's like, "I just don't have the time to train and manage somebody like you." He's like, could I just like have you train and manage them, and then just like I can pay you?" And I was like, "I guess." And he goes, "Yeah, you could just be like my VA staffer." And by the way, that's how I created my business name. I went to GoDaddy.com, VAstaffer.com was available. I didn't know anything about SEO at the time, or I would have called it something different. Mm-hmm. But like, here we are 11 years later. So, but the crazy part about the marketing side is that when I finally got fed up with my job, and by the way, I loved my job. This is the sad part. I probably would still be there if not for what they had done to me. I was already a senior. I was an IT project manager. My official title was project manager III, Roman numeral 3. I had just got promoted. I was mentoring 6 people, and they brought me in and said, "We want to give you a promotion. Cool. We're going to switch you to a salary scale. We're going to give you a 25% raise." I'm like, let's go. Yeah. But then I couldn't work overtime. Well, they wanted me to work overtime, but not bill it because I'm salary. Mm-hmm. And then I found out that I was actually losing about 25% of my paycheck after they gave me 25% raise, because at overtime I was getting paid time and a half. And I was guaranteed like 2 to 3 hours overtime a day because I'm a project manager. The projects never stop.
They knew it.
Exactly. But I'm the dumb, ignorant guy thinking, wow, they really appreciate me. They're going to give me more money. Right. And the end of the conversation was, I went back to my boss and I said, "Hey," I said, "my wife and I were trying to have a second kid, and my dad's dying of cancer. My grandpa's dying. Maybe this is good for me because now I can cut my hours back and I'll just turn the phone off after 5. And you know what my boss said? He said, Jeff, what are you talking about? You know, this is not an 8 to 5 job. And I was like, well, you're expecting me to work longer than 8 to 5, but you're paying me for 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 technically. And, you know, like even just 8 to 5, like him insinuating that was already an extra hour of overtime a day that I wasn't going to get paid for. So I was like, you know what? I was miserable at my job. And finally, there was a couple things that just, you know, led up to it. And I was like, it was February 29th. It was leap day, 2016. And I just said, you know what? I cried, I prayed, I talked to my wife, my family. I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of crying. I literally, even my resignation letter, I remember my finger just like shivering over the little enter button on my keyboard. Because you have to remember this. At that time, I had a 3-year-old son. I had a company car, a company computer, a company credit card that I could charge $75 a day for food. Company, everything. I mean, literally phone, computer, car, you know, printer, you know, like people still had those back then.
What are those?
Yeah. Everything was company owned. And, you know, they gave me a car every year, like a you know, brand new lease, you know, paid for by the company. And I had the best golden handcuffs. Even my 401k, I put $1 in, they paid $1.50, you know?
Yeah.
I was only there for 4 years and I have like 150k in my 401k, you know, like I'd have $1 million by now. So what happened? Why did I just say all that to get to marketing? I finally quit my job. And I went from making 150k a year, you know, or 132 plus bonuses, whatever, to moving in with my grandparents in one little tiny bedroom in their house with a 3-year-old kid and a wife. And my first year, I did negative $50,000.
That's hard.
So here's the worst part. You know, they say kick you while you're down, right?
Uh-huh.
I hired a branding marketing specialist. He goes by the name of the publicity guy. This is probably the most press and media he's ever had. I bet people always search after they watch these things. Who's the publicity guy? I hired this guy, and he was doing a training up in Boise after the ClickFunnels Inner Circle. Poor Russell. I love Russell, by the way. It was just that, you know, this guy was a good scammer. And he was actually speaking at the Inner Circle, like telling people how to do PR and marketing for themselves and build a brand, and how they're getting all this media and how they're going to, you know, become the authority and charge premium prices and all the stuff that you want to hear when you're just starting out. And I paid $5,000. My business partner went in. She paid $5,000 at the time for a VIP day where we're going to work on my brand. And it was an absolute nightmare. First off, I didn't even have that much money. I had to use a credit card. Well, actually worse. I was so new in business. I didn't even have a credit card. So I had to borrow money and then pay with a debit card, which, by the way, it never ever pay for any type of high ticket service with a debit card, because you're never going to get your money back. Okay? Mm-hmm. Always use a credit card. And guess what happened? Lo and behold, the guy was a complete scam. It was an absolute joke. I was there wasting my time watching him. He was having me watch publicly listed Facebook videos on his Facebook page. And that was the training, was watching videos he had posted for free on his Facebook. Wow. And he was on mushrooms too. He was shroomed out. You just can't make this stuff up.
That's why he had the confidence to charge you money. He's like, woo, we're going to do this.
It was so bad. I never got my refund from the guy, which, by the way, is why he still messages me, because, you know, I think it's safe to say now that Digital Marketer, you know, doesn't have Traffic Conversion Summit anymore. But I wrote a post about this guy and how he scammed me. And I never said his name publicly, but I did say that he speaks on the biggest stages in the world, that this is, someone who's on, at the biggest marketing event in the world, and this and that, and how can someone scam the world. And I actually had somebody from Digital Marketer reach out to me and say, "Hey, are you talking about so-and-so?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they said, "What can you tell me about it?" And I told them my situation. And they actually felt bad about it. And then they also found out that that wasn't the only time. They went and did some investigation with their people and found out he had scammed other people in their organization. Wow. And they invited me to fly out to Austin, Texas, to their headquarters, Digital Marketer, to help with their speaker vetting process, and basically blacklisted him from everything that they ever do. And that, ironically, was the moment that skyrocketed my own brand in 2018, because now I'm around the big players. Now I'm a digital marketer. Now I'm sitting on couches next to marketing legends, and they're giving me access to their programs and their people, and just being around the right people. And finally, I had to learn how to do my own marketing. What I did was, I was broke, and he had a whole list of all the things that he was going to do for me. So I just reverse engineered it. And I said, well, here's all the things that he told me I'm supposed to do. And I just literally went and figured out how to do each and every one of those myself. And now I'm off my pedestal.
There you go. No, I love it, man. I'm intrigued. I am always intrigued by your stories. And that's how it's like. And you say you obviously sit on stage with big players. So I will say I'm still grateful that you're having a conversation with me.
Oh, come on.
And but because I I had to learn marketing the same, similar, not as similar, but similar ways. Like I was a band director.
You were a band director?
You didn't know that?
What?
For 15 years, I was a band director.
No way!
Learn something new.
That is so cool.
So I like, one day I'll tell my story, but it's not here. This is
dude.
But it's I had to,
like, at what, a school?
Yeah, I taught high school band and middle school band.
Wow.
Things
I would not have guessed that about you.
I was very good at it. I was very good at it. My degrees were also to be an administrator, a principal.
Wow. So you were like all loaded up. Now there sounds like there's something very similar between me and you. I bet me and you spent a lot of time in school.
Yeah. Well, undergrad 4 years, 2 years as a master's, but I mean, obviously being an educator, the only way you could make more money is you had to take on more debt to get a higher degree to make like $500 more a month. Nowadays, I just have to sign a client.
And then to find out after all of that all you had to do to make more money was unlearn what they taught you in school.
Yeah. Dude, my whole thought process around education now has changed since I left 5 years
ago. Amen, brother. Me too. I mean, you're talking to someone who was basically Van Wilder at his college for 10 years.
I was going to say that, but I don't want to cut you off.
I literally had enough credits to have 2 degrees. And, like the funny part was because my first year in school, I went for computer science, and then I realized I'm like, well, I don't want to learn Cobalt and Fortran, and I don't want to be a developer and coder and like sit behind a computer all day. Like I really was intrigued by that new major that came out my second year in college, which was the computer information systems, because now that's a business degree, but also has an emphasis in computer information. So like for me, that felt like it was a really good match. And by the way, I learned I learned how to use Linux. I learned how to use a terminal. I learned how to deploy stuff and because all my jobs were like IT related, like it was like I was always like the hot shot in the class. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which ironically, I did the minimum effort and always got like a C- or a B+, or like I never did what I thought. It's just like my kid right now who's bilingual. My kid literally knows how to speak perfect Spanish, and he's got like a C+ in Spanish. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
but who cares?
Because the teacher holds him to a different standard because he knows how to speak Spanish.
Right? I took 3 years in high school. I couldn't Could do very little.
You're like, yo hablo.
Yeah. Yo hablo, way, with my southern redneck accent. And I've got a best friend who didn't even graduate college, who's one of the most smartest people I ever know. And he speaks it perfect.
I know lots of those.
Yeah.
I
And
think
I'm like, I hate you, man. Like, I hate you. He's like, what, brother? It's not that hard. You just have to learn.
you know what? For anybody who's watching this, the craziest thing to me was how it's like that, the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Where it's like when you go to college, you are taught stuff and then you start thinking that you're smart. It's the reason why, like, not to get political here, but it's why a lot of socialists are like some of the smartest people I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're real smart, but they have no real world experience. That's why they're socialists, right?
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that I was completely on the left of everything, like I don't like drawing the lines, but like, my family's like Pennsylvania Democrat, like Catholic, Italian, Pennsylvanian coal miner Democrat, which basically is a conservative Republican today. Right. And what's really interesting is that, like, when you are new and you're fledgling at business and life and whatever, like, your mindset is that way because you're around other people whose mindset is that way. And like, for me, I'm the first millionaire in my family, right? So like, I don't really have people. I didn't have somebody who said, hey, this is how to actually make money. This is how to actually be successful in real life. And I think that the one thing that I'll tell anybody out there, especially wherever you're at in your entrepreneurial journey right now, is you need to be, I think there's a saying, I think I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe it was Brad Lee, but he made a quote. He did a post somewhere that was so funny and it was so real and true. Like 80% of becoming successful is just avoiding the wrong people.
Yeah.
Like 80% of your success story will just be staying the hell away from people that will drag your ass down the wrong path. Drugs, people, scammers, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just ironic to me that the way that I became successful in building my brand was actually by getting screwed over by somebody and saying, damn it, I've got to do it myself.
Yeah, it's fun. So it's funny you say that. All my retirement money from teaching, which wasn't a lot, like 20 grand. I took all of that and all my IRA that I built over the past 15 years, gave it to somebody who did real estate. Because I found him through a client of ours, and long story short, he was Ponzi scheming everybody. Lost all of it. Just got an email last night. He's going to jail for 17 years.
Woo!
I will probably never see my money, but he's going to go sit in jail for 17 years. And I'm like, but here's the reality of it. Our business is growing every year. We're not at the $1 million mark yet. We will hit there, no doubt. But
I will also say, like, you're newer to the game than me.
Oh yeah, I'm 5 years in. I'm not even that, honestly, like less time than that, because I'm like you. So I started in digital marketing. I figured out how to build websites during COVID, and long story short, quit teaching, did it. I failed. I mean, I was delivering groceries while trying to build a business. I didn't know what to do. Worked for another marketing company, did podcasts, did their content, and then found out they were scamming folks. And so I left. It's like, let's do this again. And we've evolved, but I've learned a lot through trial and error. And but I know now that money that I lost, I'll have it back in the next 5 years. Easy.
This is the thing that you said, and I want to reemphasize what you said to your audience, because that was very important. Marketing is the critical, essential skill of literally anyone. And I'll even go deeper than that. Marketing is very, 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 very important to understand copywriting. like the actual art of writing something that people want to read, things that actually tell a story, things that make people take action. If you can actually get people to read something you've got, just remember, reading now turns into video. It turns into audio. It turns into speeches. It turns into video sales letters. It turns into websites. The ability to write is so important. And it's crazy to think that we are now in an age where you can train the AI to do that for you.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you still have to know what's good, but even then, like all the stuff I learned, one of the biggest messages I put in my content is most of the time your marketing is the fact you're just speaking to the wrong person.
bingo. And here's the other thing too, like from a marketing perspective and a branding perspective, I just want to remind people, you know, I don't know everyone who's listening if you're a fledgling or where you are in your journey, but you know, like Jordan just was very vulnerable there and said, look, he hasn't hit the $1 million mark. Well, I started my business in 2014. I didn't hit my $1 million mark until 2019. And by the way, when I hit that $1 million mark, it was like I was unprepared for it and I had to pay so many taxes because I wasn't prepared. I didn't have an LLC set up correctly with the S corp. I was still a sole proprietor and I had to pay 35% taxes. And I was like, wait, why would I even make this much money if I just have to give it right back to the state of California and to the federal government? Like, there's so many fun lessons that you learn along the way. And honestly, that part of the journey is fun. And there's going to be times that really suck. But every single struggle, every single problem, every single like roadblock that gets in your way, every time you cross that bridge or jump over that hurdle, like it makes you stronger and it makes you more confident. And my favorite, it makes you more competent in actually building a business. See, a lot of people they're good at fulfilling a service. Maybe you're a good marketer, you can sell stuff. Maybe you're a good salesman, you can sell stuff. Maybe you're great at customer support or whatever it is you're good at. Maybe you're a great copywriter and you can sell stuff. There's a recurring theme there, selling stuff.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, a lot of people are just bad at running a business. That was me. I was just bad at running a business. So now the goal here, and this is my advice to anyone starting a business, you want to start making enough money to where the stuff that you're sincerely bad at, you just give it to someone else to do who's good. Like I have an accountant firm for all three of my LLCs. They do all the taxes, they do all the payments, they do all the payroll, they do all my IRAs, they do all that stuff on the back end. I pay them a monthly retainer, they do all that stuff. And the money that I pay them, A, it's tax deductible, and B, they're saving me all the money in taxes that I would have to pay if I didn't plan correctly. Mm-hmm. And there's just things that you learn as you grow up. Like I know right now, I could sell my virtual assistant company. Here's a fun number for you. You ready for this? I did my taxes. VA staffer, which made $1.1 million in 2025. I want you to throw out a number, what you think I made in profit for VA staffer in 2025.
Oh. So I don't know if this is going to be good or bad. 300,000. How far away off am I?
$20,000.
Yeah.
Compared to AI Persona Method, which is my AI company, which only has one employee, a 90% profit margin, and made $375,000.
That's nuts.
Let me do the math. Okay. 375 times that by 0.9. So that made $337,000 with one employee versus VA staffer, 150 people that made $100 million. So now we're looking at a different number, right? Let me do 1.1 million. Okay. 1100, bunch of zeros. Divide that by 150 people. That's $7,000 a person.
That's nuts. Well, and so, that's a business lesson.
But I hope that people understand here. This is a crazy, like the type of business that you build matters. I'm very fortunate that the very first business I built is a staffing agency because it's helped me build all the other companies that I'm doing. And one of the reasons why that business is not profitable is because it wasn't until middle of last year that I separated my virtual assistant company from my AI company. So VA Staffer was more profitable because I was selling AI services. But now that I've removed the AI services altogether, VA Staffer is now a losing business. And I did that on purpose for tax purposes.
See, well, you're in the great state of California. Alabama,
California is horrible.
We're a little more forgiving over here in Alabama.
My new business is not a California business. It is a Wyoming business.
There you go. What's better? Well, it's I think you talk about the profitability part. I think is what most people miss is like they see the revenue numbers and then they don't charge enough money to keep the profit margins. Like we do pretty decent on margins. And we're trying to grow and keep that. Like this year is the year of stacking cash.
Yep.
And getting as many people in and working as many overtime hours as possible. Like that's the goal for Presto Media next year. Like how do we get as many clients in the door? Obviously continue to serve them at a high level. And then how do we stack as much cash as possible? Because then right after that, we're going to turn around and hire some of the best people. But I want to do it so where I don't lose my ass in, you know what I mean? Like, so I think in learning but it took me dealing with other businesses to learn like that lesson. It's like, all right, this is going to be a year of cash stacking, like saving money, making sure we have plenty of cash flow to get us through the year. So when we do hire, we're not screwing anybody over. And then I think that's a valuable lesson too. And that's what we try to teach clients when we bring them in. I'm like, look, you're going to have an influx of leads and whatever coming in the door. But I was like, you're also going to have a cash flow issue.
Can you read that hat?
Which one? Funnel Ninja or I can't see it. Oh, cash flow. Yep.
So every single hat on this wall is someone I've worked with. So that's from Grant Cardone.
The cash flow king.
I've worked with Grant Cardone and Gary Brecka. I help to help them come up with the 10X Health System. That's their supplement brand.
Yeah.
I've worked with some people probably like Funnel Ninja. This is Sam Hodgett.
Yeah.
And Meal Prep on Fleek. And then some of these are my brands like The Tip and Talk Boss and AI, Crypto Gaming. Like, the hat wall is important to me. And you can't see it because it goes all the way the rest of this wall. I've got probably 30, 40 hats. But every single hat is a brand that I've worked with in some capacity. But as entrepreneurs, we wear lots of hats, right? I brought that up because I'm just thinking about what you just said, right? Like this year is the year of stacking cash. It's getting cash heavy so that you can make the investments. And I think that right now in 2026, we're at a really good point in time, especially with the initiatives that Trump has. Like right now, we have the Section 179. It's all the way back up to 100% tax deduction. So you could have in December 31st of 2025, you could have went and bought a $95,000 Suburban, never make a payment on it for 45 days, and you could deduct $195,000 bonus depreciation from your taxes in 2025. By the way, that's another reason why the business only made $20,000 because I've made investments like that where I'm able to deduct, right? Yeah. So it's just interesting, right? Because like I'm on here sounding like a tax genius. I'm not a tax genius. I just do what they tell me to do.
Yeah.
But I am a very curious person, though. I always say, why am I doing this, right?
Oh yeah. So and you made the point too about the VA Staffer company. It's like that. I figured out that Presto Media will be the fundamental company that helps grow other businesses because I don't want to do this forever. I do want to open other companies, but once this one is operational, it's on its own. Guess what? I'm going to go buy another business. Guess who's going to help me grow that business?
This company,
this Presto Media, and so this
is such an important conversation, guys. And it goes back to the very first statement you made, which is the essential skill of every business owner: marketing. Mm-hmm. Because if you have a marketing engine behind whatever you do, it's easy. You've known me long enough, 5-6 years. You've known me long enough to where you've seen me launch random stuff. I remember when you first were like, hey, what's this AI persona thing 3 years ago? Remember? And you messaged me about it, and I was like, yeah, dude, pop in, and it's because I've already built the brand and I have the marketing engine behind it that I can launch things all the time. And this is where it's really important to separate the personal brand and the business brand, which I think you're starting to do a great job, because you've got your Jordan brand, then you've got your marketing magic behind it, right? So it's like you've got this podcast, which is you, and then you've got the business separate. And because I've had offers, over the past couple of years, I've had 2 or 3 offers to buy my virtual assistant company. And honestly, one of my mentors told me I was dumb for not selling it because the profit margins are low and AI is probably going to replace a bunch of people. But I couldn't go to sleep at night knowing I built a company for 10 years. And I just said, okay, guys, see you later. I'm selling it to some private equity firm. Like, I care about my people. I care about their jobs. You know that. You've had a VA for years for me. And like, what I decided to do was pivot. And instead of having a virtual assistant company, which virtual assistant companies are SOL right now, they're screwed. I decided, why don't I fly to the Philippines, train my team members how to use AI for business owners, because at the end of the day, business owners are still busy and they don't want to do anything. And that pivot alone has fundamentally changed my business. It's allowed me to charge more. It's allowed me to have higher margins. It's allowed me to pay my people more. And my clients love my VAs. Like, you just got done sending your VA like a brand new.
And we got.
She wanted to buy a cell phone or something. Right.
Yeah, we bought it, and I bought her a computer last year, I think. So,
yeah.
I was like, she's amazing.
Yeah. And I was just having this conversation with my team members earlier. So I have a Christmas party every year, and we do a Christmas party. And guess what? On the Christmas party, there's a prize pool where everybody gets to win a prize, but people get to pick the prize based on how well they perform in the Christmas games. Okay. Yeah. And there's things like electric desks that go up and down and comfy chairs. And like, my own assistant, she was so excited because now she has a blender. She really wanted this like fancy blender. And, people basically put in their Santa's wish list of things they want to win. But there's always a chance that somebody's going to beat you and get the prize that you wanted. So you got to be strategic. Like, I think my assistant, Jackie, is very strategic because ain't nobody going to steal her blender.
Oh yeah. That's so funny, man.
People steal the chairs and the desks and stuff, but if you treat your people right, the company will also be treated right. And I'm a firm believer that if you lean in and just creating value, and not a lot of people are like, oh, I create value for my clients. Yes, you do. But if you want to have a team and a client base that like worships you, who's like, man, I love working with Jeff. I love working with Jordan. You have to show them true, authentic, genuine, like not just that cookie cutter crap. Like, you got to go out of your way to show people that you care. And you also need to show them that you care about your people. Like, what was your reaction when we sent you an email saying, hey, do you want to give your person a bonus?
Oh yeah. I think I already beat you to the punch. I was like, yep, nope, 100% I do. Like,
I think it's the first one.
Yeah. Matter of fact, even some of the other team members, I thought about this today before you hopped on, was like, there's others that help us on a regular basis and aren't like, just glued to me, but have been instrumental and part of my team. And I'm like, all right, I got to figure out to do something for them too. Cause, they've been amazing. JR and, John Paul and Richard and a few others. They've just been outstanding. And so, I will probably end up hopping off at some point and doing something for them as well. So
yeah, and but here's the thing though: if you want to attract amazing clients like this guy, you have to literally be amazing. It's the same thing. Like, if you want people to be interested in you, you need to be interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, look, I know I got like 2 minutes here, so I want you to give me one piece of advice for somebody who is flailing at the moment, because I think those are the darkest days that everybody's like,
If you're flailing, flailing in your business, and you're like, I don't know, exactly where my next steps are. I would actually say, go back to the basics, and I would pull it back a little bit. And there's an activity that I love from Ryan Dice. Shout out to Ryan Dice over there at Digital Marketer. It's scalable, but you have to have a scorecard. You got to have some sort of a company scorecard. Like, what are the metrics that if you hit these metrics, you're going to make money and you're going to have a great life, right? Like, I know for me, I have, how many leads am I acquiring? And then how many of those leads turn into sales? If you don't know those numbers, you're flailing. How many sales calls do you have? And how many of those sales calls turn into actual clients? If you don't know those numbers, you're flailing. How much of your clients are signing up and then canceling? You need to know that number. And also, how often are they canceling? How long do they usually stay with you until they cancel? Like, those are the absolute basics that every business owner should know if you run a service-based business that most people don't know. Like, then you work on those metrics. So for example, I have my AI certified consultant program. It's a $5,000 a year program. We were looking at a 15 to 20% conversion rate from a sales call to close. And I knew there's something wrong with that because the people coming in are highly qualified people already. So I'm talking to my sales guy, who is also an AI consultant, by the way. And I'm like, dude, you're in the program. Like, what's going on? He goes, you know what, Jeff? They see this monstrous gap between the $1,500 program where I just teach them how to do AI compared to the $5K program, which is them using AI for businesses and making money and showing them how to build a brand. He says there needs to be some way to show them intermediate path to downsell them, which ironically, the downsell is to get them to actually go all in on the 5K program. I'm going to give, this is, by the way, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm going to share the story anyway. This is how we did it. What we did was, I said, okay, well, we have so much stuff included in that program. They get access to me. They get private access to me and my team. They get to become a group expert inside the world's largest AI community. They get to show up to weekly calls with me. Like, we honestly over deliver for 5K. He says he has an idea to improve that metric, which is how many sales calls he does and how many people I end up buying. He says, here's the idea. We created a program in between that's $3,500, but they don't get the weekly calls. They don't get the direct access to me. They don't get to become a group expert in the world's largest group. And they don't get access to AI copy tools, which is my AI software suite. And I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. And guess what? Every single time someone's like, oh, I don't know if I've got 5K, he says, well, listen, we have this other program that's $3,500, but you don't get this, you don't get that, you don't get this, you don't get that. And they go, guess what they say? Oh, well, it makes sense to do the 5K program then.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what? This year in 2026, he's done 4 sales calls, which, by the way, is the next metric. I got to get that call number up. He's done 4 sales calls and he's gotten 3 people to sign up. From 15% to 75%, making that one change.
That's nuts.
All we did was create an offer that we don't even want to sell. Think about that.
That's nuts. Well, Jeff, I appreciate it, man. I know we're wrapping this thing up here. My kids are going to be coming through that front door in a minute.
Tell them Happy New Year and give them a slap on the ass if they're not listening.
Oh yeah, for sure. But anyway, Jeff, man, I appreciate it, dude. Your time was very valuable. Other part of this podcast too is me learning things and understanding. You always have great stories. Somewhere down the line, I'll probably bring you on again and tell me more of them because I know they're out there.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Have me back.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. For everybody listening, thanks again.